Cloud. All right. Okay, hello everyone. I just want to inform you that we will be recording this session and we will start in a few seconds. Okay. Okay, so yeah, mute. All right, so we can start, I guess. Good evening, everyone. This is Arlette Shohmelian. I'm the founding director at Parentry. I'm a psychologist and a parent coach. I would like to welcome you to today's presentation on writing for well-being, tips for parents by one of our special guests, an expert on this topic, Kate Stewart Gifford, which I will introduce her to you shortly. But first, I would like to tell you a little bit on how I got into ebooks and specifically on children's ebooks. When my daughter was 3 years old, she's 13 now, one night when I was putting her to sleep, she started telling me a story about this lost kitten, this little cat who left home to play outside. You can see the sample of her book on the screen. So this little cat leaves home to play outside and she goes on a journey and on an adventure. And this little cat gets lost and tries to find her way back home. So when my daughter was telling me this story, I was really fascinated by her imagination. I was really in anticipation to see how she would end her story. After a couple of days, she told me the same story again. But this time it was more descriptive. So she told me more in details. So I quickly grabbed a pen and a paper and I started, taking notes, and I wrote down exactly the way she told me the story. And over the years, I kept on asking her to tell me the story again because I wanted this story to stay fresh in her mind. When she turned 7, by that time, her writing skills were much better. They were developed. So I asked her to write down her story. Of course, she remembered it because I kept on asking her over the years to tell me about this story of this specific lost cat. So when she wrote it down, I took her to an art lesson, some art lessons, and I told her art teacher that I would like to turn this story to a book. And I would like her to guide Aliana with illustrations because I wanted to include her own drawings in the book. So we went to a printer and we published a little book and we gave it away, to grandparents. We gave it away as present. And it was only a year ago that I turned this book to an ebook and I published it on Amazon. If you're interested, you can find it on Amazon. I can show you the link at the end of our presentation when I take you through a tour over my website. So this is how I got into ebooks. This is my story. And this is something that really fascinates me because the thing is, if you pay attention to children, you will realize that all children tell stories. So because children have so many stories to tell us, and they have such a vivid imagination, and they don't yet have the mental blockages that adults have. So that's why creative writing is so important for children, because it involves children. It invites children to expand their imagination. Therefore, since children tell us so many stories, why not bring their stories to life? Let's look at some of the benefits of creating ebooks. So what are some of the benefits? The benefits are it creates long-term memories. So it's nice when you really turn their work into reality and you can turn them into an ebook, maybe publish them on Amazon. They can have a printed version. It's for life. They can have it on their shelf, on their library. They can give as a present. So it's something that creates long-term memories. It's also an amazing gift to family members. I think we all agree with that. And when you publish any book, ebook on Amazon, it creates a passive income. So it's also a nice opportunity to teach children from a young age interpersonal, entrepreneur business skills, because they will always go back and check their account to see if somebody bought it. You can also attach it to charity. You can attach it to charity. All the proceeds from the sales can go to a specific charity. So it really creates different types of skills from such a young age. It also creates, you start creating their CV. It's great for building your child's profile. I think it's amazing that they can create things, things that you can see, tangible things that it has results. So it's very important for that, and it creates a sense of accomplishment, which builds a child's self-esteem. So for many children, writing can give them a great sense of accomplishment, and of course it has so many benefits that can support children's well-being. We are going to look at some of those benefits now. Now with us we have Kate. I'll hand over to Kate Stewart Gifford. So Kate, how are you?
I'm good, thanks, Ali. How are you? Thanks for having me.
It's always a pleasure to have you. Thank you, Kate. But Kate is a positive educator in language and arts and well-being advocate. And Kate is also a published author. So Kate, this is something we've been talking about for so many months. Our discussions always, evolve around well-being of children, and writing obviously is one of the ways that we can enhance their well-being. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about the connection between writing and well-being?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, writing is a really useful tool for supporting children's well-being. So I'm going to go through about 5 little areas and talk about how writing directly helps and supports children with their well-being, and what we can do to support children as writers. So research has shown repeatedly that for adults who write regularly for pleasure, they've experienced increased feelings of happiness, and children are no different. It helps them regulate their emotions, and if they are writing for their own enjoyment. So for children, writing is a way of exploring the world beyond their limitations. So that means beyond their geographic location, beyond their experienced world in terms of their physical abilities and their emotional states. They can go beyond where they're currently, the space they're currently in. So it's in a similar way to dreaming. So writing is a way for children to process things that they've seen or heard in a very safe way. So this can be a happy or a positive event they've experienced in their life, or it can be something perhaps more negative, or they've found a little bit threatening. They can work through these darker themes and events in a safe way. When I'm talking about writing here, I want to say that some children will have specific or special educational needs that may impede their mindset or their ability to write. So SEN is a specialist field, and I would urge any parent who thinks that their child has perhaps some form of special educational need or emotional need to seek professional advice. So we're talking about children who do not necessarily have any special educational need. So the second thing I'd like to say is develop the basics. So writing in the way we're talking about it this evening is a very individual process, and we all express ourselves differently, just as we do when we're speaking. And just as with speech, written language comes with certain norms and rules, and they're not there to hinder our expression, but to aid our expression. So learning some of the basics really helps children increase their confidence in using the language. And as they become more familiar with those rules and more confident using those rules, they can play around with words and have more fun with them and express themselves in more specific ways. So here are some of these basics and how they relate to well-being. So the first one is structure. Creating structure in their writing encourages logical and sequential thinking. So children need to think about cause and effect and consequences. So we're talking about beginning, a middle, an end, a rising action and a falling action. What's happening in the story? What is happening because this character does or says this thing? So we're thinking logically, and like I say, about cause and effect. We're adding characterization. So characterization, whether it's an animal in their story, as an Aliana's story, or whether it's a person, this is encouraging self-expression. They may project their own emotions, or they may consider the emotions of others, which encourages empathy, or they're observing what's going on around them and seeing how other people or other creatures or beings act. We can understand different writing forms. There's poetry, essay, fiction, non-fiction, letters. So understanding different writing forms means considering the situation and the needs of the audience they wish to reach. So this leads us to think of what we want to achieve through our writing and how it impacts others. Now, writing is a recursive process. So we're talking about redrafting, redrafting, redrafting. And this means a focus on progress and not simply the end result. Often in a classroom, children may say, oh, I've finished, miss, and they've rushed to straight, they've got an idea and they've put straight down pen to paper and they've got their final result. But we want to take children away from rushing to the finish. We want them to learn to look objectively and critically at what they're producing. So this working out what works and what areas they can develop. And that critique is not a negative thing. It's rather a means for becoming better at something and improving. So how can we encourage these basics? So parents we're our children's first teachers. I've got 4 children myself. I'm a parent. I understand what that is to be a parent. So we help set the tone of any relationship in our children's lives. So one way to create a positive relationship with language is to find games and activities where they can play with and have fun with words and enjoy working with words. So word games such as Boggle or Scrabble, for example, encourage children to play with words and see them as tools they can control. It creates positive associations of spending time with the people they love as well when they're playing these games. And there are a lot of fun games for children to play online because a lot of children prefer being online. So things like just a few: Grammaropolis, Smashing Grammar, Grammar Pop, Verb Smash, Mad Libs, all silly and fun games that they can use just little and often become more familiar with some of the rules and norms around language. So the third area is nurturing creativity. It can be really difficult getting started. And Alette said for a lot of children, they don't seem to have these barriers that we do as adults when writing. But we can still, when we're told, write a story or be creative, there can be that moment when we freeze, and we want to nurture that creativity. So we can offer writing cues, ideas to get them going, and perhaps discuss what they enjoy. And the more they practice their creativity, the easier it becomes. And we want to empower them to trust their judgment and their creativity and their authentic writing voice. So they'll often ask, what should I write about? And these are the discussions that we can have with them. Well, what do you enjoy? What did you see today? Something funny or sad, perhaps, that they witnessed. Another really interesting tool is to get them outside, which is really good for their well-being, being in nature, and we can connect them to their senses. So being outdoor enhances our well-being. We can go on nature walks, observe and discuss what we see with our children. Talk about what they feel, the temperature, what can they smell, what can they hear. And we're promoting mindfulness while we're doing this. And the children may want to write this down when they come back, or perhaps even take a pen and paper with them and make notes as they go. We can be inspired by other art forms. So art or music, for example. So Van Gogh's Cafe Terrace at Night is a very famous painting. So we can think, what is happening inside that cafe? What are the people on the terrace eating? Do you think it's hot or cold at night? And get them thinking about all the different sensations or the story that might be happening in that place. And the likewise with music. What do they hear? Is it happy? Is it sad? What does the singer sound like or the musicians sound like? Color and touch. are also really good catalysts to start them imagining. And children will respond to different cues. Some children will be really all about the audible sensations, and some children will be about the visual, or a mix of both. You often hear the phrase, write what you know. And that's really good to get us started, but we can also encourage children to write what they don't know. We can encourage them to come up with fantastical ideas or research things. So we can develop competence and confidence with research skills and expand their knowledge and their vocabulary. We can use a variety of tools to do this: thesauruses, dictionaries, online searches. These are all valuable ways of connecting and getting the child playing with ideas. So these are the different tools. So the fourth area that I want to talk about is providing opportunities to the children to write. And these are everyday opportunities. So they might, for example, write thank you letters once they get a present at a birthday or for Christmas. They want to go somewhere or use something or borrow €5 or whatever it is. Get them to write a convince me argument. Write down why that you should allow this or what they want the money for. Think about gift cards, or if you're meeting someone at the airport, banners and posters say welcome home. So looking for those small everyday opportunities to get them writing. Journaling is a really useful tool and really enhances well-being for a lot of children. My children had a little locked diary that they used to like playing with and writing ideas down for their days. So some children will use journaling to talk about gratitude, and gratitude is known, recording our gratitude and expressing it is known for increasing feelings of well-being. They might want to think about something praiseworthy, something they did really well, something they're proud of themselves for doing that day, something they like about themselves. So filling their diaries or their journals with positive notes is really a good tool for well-being as well. We can use captions of photos or scrapbooks. A lot of children have photos. We've got a lot of photos on our phones and devices. We can print some of those out, or things that they've seen or done. Create scrapbooks with these and get them to add captions about what they did and how they felt that day. That's a nice way of improving their recall and relating the material to their lives. Many children enjoy writing cartoons or graphic novels. It's a different writing form, and I talked about different writing forms earlier. These are still using structure, they're still using characterization, they're using dialogue, and these are all important literacy skills that will boost their confidence and let them express themselves in a different way. And we can also try both online and offline media, as this builds up a wide range of skills and it prepares them for the world that they are living in. So we've got one example being Book Creator. It's a tool that you can find online. You can get a free and a paid version, and they can take photos or write stories and create their own online books, which can then be shared with family or friends or just for their own pleasure. Okay, and the final part that area that I want to mention is stepping back. It's very tempting as adults to let our inner editor come out and start critiquing a child's work. So if a child is stuck in their writing, we can use questions to get them thinking. Why did your character do that? What would you do in that situation? How are they feeling? And when we step back and we allow space for a child to develop their authentic voice as a writer, their writing is going to improve and their confidence is going to grow. If your child invites you to read their work, look for specific positive points to praise. Note the progress they have made. And this might be in spelling or vocabulary or structure or in use of punctuation. They're using a wider array of words than they were previously. Maybe you can ask them to explain their writing verbally. If they explain their writing verbally, it means they can sometimes pick up on areas they wish to expand on, or perhaps things they've missed. And I often ask students in my classes to read some of their writing out loud, because they can often hear when something doesn't sound right other than when they've just simply written it down. From a teaching perspective, if they are writing for a school assignment, whether it's a creative assignment or whether it's a more structured essay, let them work independently. So if we get overly involved in our children's work that they're preparing for school, firstly, it teaches them that when things get challenging, someone will step in for me. And then how can they improve if that's the case? Secondly, it implies my work is not good enough. And by this can translate for some children to I'm not good enough or I'm a bad writer. 3, they do not get the full sense of accomplishment they would have if they'd completed their own work. And importantly, from a teaching perspective, it means a teacher cannot properly assess where a child is at in their development and their writing, and therefore we can't provide the focused support that your child perhaps needs. We respect their privacy and their work. I talked about journaling before, and children are sometimes using writing to share their ideas just for themselves and to express themselves or get things out. However, there's a caveat to that. If you notice that a child has continued to express perhaps dark thoughts, or there are ongoing dark themes in their work or the way they're expressing themselves, this may be a chance for you to perhaps talk to a professional who can advise you on whether it's something that is normal and healthy for their stage of development, or whether it's something that perhaps they need a little bit of extra support with. Okay, and the final thing I'll leave you with is writing is a really personal process, and we can use it to explore and understand a range of emotions and events. And it's a very valuable tool for a child, not only to work through what's going on in the world around them, what's going on inside them, but also develop their authentic voice in terms of their communication skills. Okay, so that's me done. Thanks, Arlette. I'll pass it back to you now.
Thank you, Kate. That was quite informative. I think, yeah, it's very important that we encourage children to express what they like and to ask them those powerful questions, because many children say that I don't know what to write, I don't know how to express my, they don't know because they're not yet, those skills are not yet developed there. It could be their writing skills, it could be their, expressions, their words. So I think it's very important that sometimes what I say to parents is that, they say that my son doesn't want to write. So I say that, but what did you try? Writing doesn't always involve a pen and a paper. You can write in sand with a stick. You can write anywhere, on a wall, anywhere. So I think it's very important that we try different things to encourage children to write and to express and to connect emotions with what they're writing, because we're so much stuck on wanting to produce a certain work, to get a certain quality work out of them, that we sometimes forget that it's not about that. It's what you said, it's all about the process, and it's all about making them feel good, because many children grow up feeling criticized, that this is not how they should be doing something, that this is not how they should be holding the pen, that this is not how they should be writing, or as what you said, jumping and trying to fix them and constantly trying to show them how something is done. And obviously all those things affect their learning, and ultimately it affects their self-esteem. And I think it's such a shame that children from such a young age start developing this fear and developing this anxiety and not wanting to study, because writing should be fun. The homework should be fun. So homework, when they're doing homework, they're also writing. Our aim is not for them to complete the work. Our aim is for them to learn, to take their time, to enjoy what they're doing, because they're young and they're still processing many of the information that we are giving to them. So Kate, what advice would you give to parents, where their children refuse to write, the reluctant learners?
I think one of the first things you can do is get them to start with the idea of storytelling. And that starts with the idea of conversation, empathizing with others, thinking about what other people are going through, Just going out with them, sitting in a cafe and talking about the lives of the people going past. Where do you think they're going in a hurry? What are they, and sort of what's going to happen next? Or creating something ridiculous and fantastical. And then start from where the child is at, the space they're at, and find a tool that they prefer to start getting their ideas down. When it comes to writing for school, yes, we want them to achieve. We want them to complete work. We want them to get to a certain standard and be able to use these certain things. But in terms of just getting them started, we want them to think of themselves as storytellers and to tap into that creativity. So when we're talking about school, there are kind of two if we split it broadly, two types of writing they'll do. One will be do something creative, and you're free, and there's a lot of freedom, which can be a little bit overwhelming. And the other will be, here's a bit of knowledge, learn this knowledge, put it in this format, and away you go. And they kind of need to know both of those to be able to function.
Thank you. And I think it's also very important that no matter what work they produce, we celebrate. We celebrate all their effort, and whatever work they produce, it's always good enough. I mean, of course, as parents, we want to teach them. We want them to learn in a specific way, to produce good quality of work that they are proud of, we are proud of. But I think there is a way to approach this situation, because when parents are too, or teachers are too, of course, I mean, without knowingly, I mean, I'm not saying that parents they do this on purpose, but I think it's very important to be aware of this, that the way we communicate with our children when it comes to correcting their mistakes is very, very important. So first, it's important to accept them the way they are, and children develop at different stages. They will all learn to write. They will all learn to express their emotions. But when we are more gentle with them and we really accept them, and when we celebrate all their achievements, I think we make a big difference in their life. One of the things that Kate, we talked about last time, was the fact that, in many cultures and in many countries, they don't introduce the alphabet, they don't introduce writing to kids until the age of 7. And we know what's the reason, because they say that before that, I mean, if you push children too early to write, they will not respond to writing. So it will definitely affect their writing. And of course, maybe it might create a certain anxiety, and maybe that's why they wouldn't like to write. Would you like to elaborate on this point? Because I think it's very important. And I know in our culture, we do push kids to write, and kids do learn eventually. But in certain situations, when the environment is too strict from such a young age, specifically the age that I'm talking about is before the age 7, I think it has undoubtedly a negative impact on children. Would you like to elaborate a little bit on that, please?
Yeah, sure. Because I think psychologically, physiologically, children are still gaining a lot of the skills that they need to do these things successfully. So really, at that point, what we want from a child is to engage their imagination, and we want them to feel confident that they can express themselves and communicate. This is the most important skill, that they can communicate with their thoughts and feelings, whether that's through a story or through direct conversation. These are the things that we're going to be working on before we worry about sticking a pen in their hand and asking for some sort of structural masterpiece. Those things will come in time with patience, but they're not going to come, or they're going to be very difficult to get to when a child's had their confidence depleted because they're told at the age of 4 that they've got terrible handwriting and their stories don't make sense. So I think we need to be aware that it's an ongoing process, and they're physically not able to write at some points for some children. And for some children, they will be able to grab a pen and write straight away. For other children, those physical abilities might take a little bit longer. So we need to be patient and respect the journey of each individual child as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very important for parents to be aware of it. I mean, if they see that their child is reluctant, they are refusing to write, it means that you need to step back a little bit and evaluate the situation and to understand and see the world from your child's point of view and why they are reluctant. And of course, sometimes it's really amazing when we ask the right questions to children. It's amazing the way they respond to us, because children have inner wisdom, and it's fascinating sometimes their answers and the way they respond to things. So when you're in doubt, ask your child what is it, why they don't like writing, and if they would like, what else would they like to write. Give them, explore other possibilities, all the possibilities that Kate was talking about, different ways of encouraging them to write.
So
yeah.
Arlette, I'll just add to that. I have one child with dysgraphia who is like a little encyclopedia and can tell the most amazing stories. And we were thinking, he's not writing anything at school. And the teachers looked at it, and some people said he was, lazy is a terrible term that sometimes people use, or he's not engaged, or whatever. What it was, we found out because we looked into it further, was physically he could not manage it, and it would actually be painful. He could produce letters, but it would actually hurt him, and it took a lot of effort and a lot of energy. But if you put him in front of a computer, the stories would come flooding out because he could type and he could express himself in this way. And that is the case for some children. So we need to, like you say, stand back and sort of ask some questions around why a child is not writing, not just say you should be doing this.
Yeah. And sometimes the thing that really works is that like reverse psychology, instead of telling them, come and try this, let's try that. I mean, you can try that and you can see if your child is not responding. It means that you have to think of a different alternative, is that have things available in front of them. For example, at home in the living room, or if there is a board, you can start writing yourself. And we know children love imitating their parents, and they will look at you and they would want to come and to write. So don't make it a big deal out of it. If they're writing, just encourage them. That's right. Ask questions. Do you know how to? You can start from drawing. Maybe do you know how to draw a house? And then you want me to show you how I write my name? So different ways of interacting with kids to encourage them to write. And as they get on with it, you can always praise them, so that you know that their self-esteem is not affected. Okay. So if you have any more questions regarding this, you can send an email to Kate, or you can also send me a message and we will be happy to respond. But for the time being, let's move on, and I'll put Kate's details at the end of the session on a screen if you need to reach her. So next is our service that we offer. So I would like to introduce you to one of our services at Parent Tree. Our team of experts turn children's stories to ebooks and publish them on Amazon. So it's one of the services that we really like and we would like to promote. Therefore, we have a full end-to-end service, or some call it done for you service. So basically, what we do, you can send us your child's story and or their illustrations, and we can turn it into an ebook. Or alternatively, our experts can write personalized stories for children based on your child's personality and interests. So if you want to make a gift to your child, like a memory, you can get in touch with us, and we will write you a few questions to get to know your child, because our authors would like to write a specific story based on your child's favorite toy. If they have a pet, what's their favorite color, what's their hair color, maybe what's their favorite TV show. So we get all that information, and we create a story just for your child, and we can turn it into ebooks. And if you wish, we can also publish it on Amazon on your account. So our done for you service includes, I don't see the screen anymore. In any case, our done for you service includes the editing, the graphics, and publishing on Amazon. So if you're interested, please get in touch and I will provide you with more details. So next, I would like to take you to a tour to my website, just to show you a selection of ebooks and where I have my the selection of ebooks. So this is the website of Parentry, and we offer so many services. Please feel free to go through it when you have time. But for our presentation today, I would like to take you to this section when it's written children's ebooks. So when you click on it, so when you click on it, you will see the upload, which is also on my social media that I talked about there with all the links that you might need. But also you will see so many books, children's ebooks. And this is the book that I was presenting, Aliana's book, which is The Lost Cat, and it's published on Amazon. So you can see so many books here, ebooks, and they are directly connected to Kindle, to Amazon. And if we choose one of the books, you can choose any one and you can click Amazon Kindle, and it will take you directly to the link, to the Amazon link. And the good thing is that Amazon gives you two options. One option is the Kindle version, and the other option is the paperback version. So you can order any book as a paperback or as Kindle. I think for gifts, it's always nice to have an actual book to present. And of course, when children are writing stories, it's nice for them to have a couple of samples on their library. So this is it for ebooks. Now I will just stop sharing. And we came to an end of our presentation. This session is recorded, so you can find it. It will be uploaded on my Facebook page and on my social media links. And if you need to get in touch, you can get in touch by email. My email is, as you can see on the screen, arlette@parentry.org, and Kate's email is right there. Feel free to contact us and to get in touch. And if you need to have more, additional details regarding our service that I just introduced, please feel free. Or if you want to talk about on well-being or for your child, if you have any concerns, please, you can get in touch. You can also invite Kate to any of your events or school presentations. And I think it's important that we do talk about well-being, and it's a very important topic, and we need to give more emphasis to this topic. That's it from us for this evening. I hope you found this presentation useful, and I really hope we hear from you. All the best. See you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you, Kate. Good night.
Thanks.